Okay, no, I guess not.
I guess no. So, Jonah, you want to go next? I heard with a check-in.
Yeah, why not? I said, yeah. So, yeah, it's really, really, really warm here. Like horribly warm. But I'm going on vacations next week, so going to the seaside. It gets me excited. Yeah, and kind of starting to get in that mood. But I'm happy to be here and happy to see Steven here. Really exciting to have more folks join in. And ready to go.
Excellent. And Keith,
Hi
your check-in.
everyone. Yes, it's been a busy and tiring week for me because all my family fell sick due to a Chinese New Year thing, a lot of flu flying around. But I'm okay. So settle down. Today's Friday and I'm ready for today's. Yeah, look forward to the discussion.
Cool. Thanks. And Christiane, your check-in.
Yeah, I've just come out of a really bad flu too, which was like really weird because I was doing okay and then I really dropped into not being okay at all for 4 days. And on the 5th day, I was like, oops, I was like almost okay again. So it was like an interesting experience. So yesterday was the first day where I felt okay, trying to catch up with the backlog that days like that always create. And super happy to be here with no specific agenda, but it feels lovely to see everybody. But I do have to say, Stephen, having you here and being sort of seeing the presence of the Athena group is really makes me very happy. And
oh,
really
thank
nice.
you for saying that. Yeah, and I will pass that on to the others who are slowly.
Please do.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
Yep, please do, and say hi to everybody who remembers me and to Faith in particular.
Yes.
So yeah, and I'm just hopeful that I can contribute in whatever way. And thank you for organizing that as always, Dennis.
Yeah, let me check in too. Really happy to be here with you guys. Thanks for showing up. So much more fun if people show up. And we've had great conversations the last times around. For myself, I just what's going on here. My intention has we just returned from a workshop with a client. It's called Vicando Fundraising Box. They're doing like these donor forms or donation forms for kind of everybody in this German-speaking world. So pretty great client, helping nonprofits collect money and so on. And we just signed the constitution. I did a little, yeah, I felt like the minister or something. Like it feels like marriage a bit. Yeah, I introduced him. Somebody's shuffling there. Was making noise. Can you mute yourself?
Yeah, that's probably me.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so that was kind of eventful and moving, and felt like a cool ritual to symbolize this kind of transition into serious holacracy practice. I think it's an opportunity one should kind of use to mark that in the company's history or in the cultural awareness of the people. So that was good, and yeah, quite busy, but looking forward to the topics that you bring. And with that, no further ado, let's build our agenda. So if you look in the board, in the blue frame in the upper right corner, you can grab a sticky, write a topic, and write your name on it, and then we see what wants to be discussed. So go ahead and take one. And I forgot to mention, everybody has to bring one topic at least. So come up with something.
Okay.
As your attention. It's not voluntary, it's mandatory. Let me think. Well, I have
Where are we putting the agenda
in the
items?
upper right corner of the blue frame.
Ah, there we go. Keep scrolling over.
All right. Don't see any agenda item from you, Keith. You always want. No, just kidding. If you don't have anything, it's fine. Jonah, you have anything to add? Meh. Just in for the ride. Okay, fine. Let's start with Christian, onboarding. What is it? What is it?
So what I need is a sharing of perspectives and experiences. And the topic onboarding is like, so I am just once again in the process of co-founding a for-purpose enterprise, and have 80% of the people engaged have no experience with Holacracy, and the others are old. Old. I don't know. I can't think of anything. Pretty experienced. And it just reminded me of the many organizations that I've worked with, and it's always somehow shows up as a difficult process of how do you onboard people who bring fabulous skills for what the organization needs, but have no experience whatsoever with self-organization. How do you integrate that? What are best practices? And of course, Dennis, interested in how, you've been around for a while in the world, and then really awesome to hear from Stephen that you've been practicing already for a while, and Jonah, you've been working with a few and have your own experience around that. So I'd just like to hear the experience of people of what has worked really well, and I can share some of that, and what failed miserably, if there is such a thing. So in the sense of avoid, what is there to be avoided?
So let's just to clarify, this is specifically about onboarding, not about implementation in general.
Onboarding in an organization that is practicing Holacracy, onboarding into an organization practicing Holacracy.
That is already practicing Holacracy.
So like
anybody?
I also want to clarify. So I'm somebody who never practiced anything, and the company's already been mature in its practice. So how to onboard it to kind of a context where people are already feeling roles in a mature and evolved way. That's what you're saying?
But the people who are coming in are not mature.
Yes. Mature in their practice or in their exposure to the whole PowerShift ecosystem whatsoever, if that even exists.
Either way, right?
Sounds like mostly the Holacracy practice, yeah.
Yeah, it is the Holacracy practice. That's mostly the.
Well, from my experience, so what we used to do for in the context of the hyperport companies, we used to give those people an introductory workshop, usually if they started like a taster kind of thing with simulations where they could try it out. So because that's the way to kind of involve them in the action, not just tell them about it, but kind of let them experience this, and then that raises the right questions in my experience. That of course takes, well, it's a bit of an effort to do this, depending on how many people you have that you want to onboard. I mean, we usually, if possible, we send people to a practitioner training. You know, that's again, that's time intensive, and
And money.
You may or may not want to invest that, but you certainly should for a, let's say, a third or so of the organization is a good kind of threshold. That then of course, okay, you get we use the habit programs, the emails as a way of onboarding people. We currently at Expreneurs, we're developing a video course. So it's an onboarding, well, that's in German. I'm not sure if that helps you in your context, which where people can then take the onboarding course in their own time. And we support it with a Holacracy online coaching program, which is weekly sessions like these, where you could drop in and have Q&A around practice-related questions. You have a group for circle leads, you have a group for facilitators, and you have some crash courses on either Holaspit or Glassrock, whichever you use. That's a kind of subscription-based model that we offer people. Then
You're still talking about Hyperport.
no, this is Expreneurs. This is
Expreneurs.
I mean, we used to do something similar at Hyperport. We also offered weekly sessions, interestingly, the same format, which worked so and so because people didn't make much use of it, and so yeah, but it's nice for people who have concrete things and they have a slot, so to speak, where they can go to some office hours. I mean, that's not much of an onboarding. This is much more of a support, I guess. So for the onboarding specifically, well, you got to tell somebody has to take them by the hand, and sometimes we created some circles. We created Holacracy buddies, kind of a role in every circle. We even had once a policy saying every circle must have a Holacracy buddy role, and so that every circle had somebody. So the kind of the onboarding would be decentralized, and you would at least have one person in every circle that is you can go to if you have questions, that you can expect to take care of this. And those people would then also mirror back the needs of and the general level of engagement and what people need to the implementation role or transformation process leader. So that's useful, I think. Yeah, that's some ideas.
I would add to that. I have a role within our small organization. The role is Holacracy Learning and Culture Curator. And so, largely responsible for bringing people along on the Holacracy journey. And because of our size and rate of growth, it's usually been about, one person at a time, maybe two at a time. And our first thing is, my first thing is always to invite them, insist that, they come to the tactical governance meetings. And we don't follow the the rule of come when you want to. I prioritize that for new folks because I think that immersion and seeing those interactions is really important. We've also had some good success with the fundamentals practitioner courses, the online courses that are. I think Chris Cowan teaches all of those, or has is in all those videos. They are really good. Where I'm at a point right now trying to decide whether to renew and for how many spots, and trying to assess whether folks have an intention to do any more courses. But I know that people who have taken the facilitator and the secretary courses have really benefited from that. And we have, I would say, probably 90% of our team has the capacity to facilitate, with some help, right? We help each other. And we have a lot of, out process moments or, out of process moments to help each other learn. So that's been useful. And then for me, there's just a variety of things. I try to assess the learning needs of the individual since I have the luxury usually of, just one or two people. And so do they like to watch videos? Do they want to read a book? Combination of those things. There's quite a number of free things out there if you do a little digging. Holacracy One's got a few things on their website. There was just recently an interview with Brian Robertson, trying to remember the name of the podcast, in which he gave his views on leadership and so on relative to
Pyramid to circles or something?
Pyramid to circle.
Pyramid, that's the one, yeah.
To circle.
Yeah, that was
Pyramid
excellent,
to
I
circle.
thought. And so I've been, referring people to that. So, yeah, that's been our approach, and just an ongoing conversation and encouraging people to try.
By the way, Nick Osborne also has some good courses. So also.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't looked at his stuff in a while since the 6 or 7 little self-organizing animations that he had out there.
Yeah,
no, he's got a lot more.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will go there. Thank you.
I wanted to mention here, Christiana, that we are in conversations with Nick in order to have his courses here in the just.work as well. So any previous agent can decide to come in and upskill itself using these courses. Probably H1 courses are going to be here as well. But I've taken his courses, the online courses for self-implementation of the Holacracy modular approach, because he's taking the modular approach. So if you're also doing that by article, it's really useful. But I came to notice that he has a different approach than Holacracy One. I like it. I mean, after I also have done every single online course from H1, and Nick has a different way of explaining stuff, and it's more baselining what's beneath all of this power shift, and I really like it. I really happen to understand it in another way. So I would recommend that also as another alternative. And of course, using just.work for that matter, as soon as it's ready.
Yeah.
Say that again, Jonah. We're gonna have him on his courses.
Come here. Come to this.
Oh, excellent.
To the Holacracy Guild. We help you.
All right.
On board you.
Actually, that's the whole
Throw
purpose
up
of it.
your questions at us. You make use of the service.
Right.
Well, we want to come together as. This is also kind of I don't want to hijack Christiana's attention, but just
I just wanted to say, not because I don't want to have this conversation, but because I don't want to take up too much time. This is way beyond what my actual question was, because this is all also part of implement. And I mean, I know that all, right? It's I'm actually part of Nick's courses in this with the language of spaces, which is awesome. I love Nick's work, and I collaborate with him in many different ways. But so the background was actually more of seeing, of surfacing whether there are some new ideas in the field, and it just came up recently because I trained people, a cohort of 3 people again for the first time in I don't know how long in German to facilitate language of spaces process. It's an Austrian technology company, and the topic of onboarding came up, and we're having this conversation because they're bringing in their tensions, and a lot of it is around
We have an
onboarding. So we
onboarding
have
course, so send them to us.
and at Expreneurs
Yeah, in German. It's
in
brand
German. Awesome. See, that's information that's super valuable, but we're kind of working from the inside out. So I really got what I need.
new. Cool. Excellent.
So thank you.
That was here, and now it's here. So ongoing learning, Stephen, what do you need?
I would say that was my thinking was similar to now I know to Christiana's tension, and so I was thinking about, are there other opportunities? And so I would say that from my perspective and what I've already heard here, I have what I need for the purpose today. Enough new stuff to explore, so I'm good.
So let's go with Keith next. Types of adoption. What's your curiosity here?
Yeah. So I'm the newest here without any practice in Holacracy. But I do hear Stephen mention just now, the company is one of the first fields adopting Holacracy in a modular manner. I also heard about that in the previous 2 sections as well. So this is one of the way to adopt it. So I'm just curious that how many other ways that we can adopt or implement Holacracy, modular way or what other ways?
Yeah, well, modular or full blown, right?
Yeah, I think that's the two choices.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So to be more specific, what does it mean by modular?
You want to explain?
Sure. Our experience is that Michael D'Angelo essentially grouped different parts of the Constitution into topics, and we adopted certain parts of it and began practicing it at a time for 3 or 4 months, and then we did an assessment about how well we were practicing, how how good we were, whether we had questions and whether we had some some competency. And so there were some survey tests and things like that, and we proceeded, and it took us about a year to do that, gradually moving through the groups. And this process was also closely tied to the habits that were made available to us, and so there was a gradual flow of that information. I don't know if there are different sequences in the modular adoption. I think I'd have to go back and look at the documentation that we use, but it seemed to work well, and I think Michael D'Angelo had thought it out. Maybe he has fine-tuned it or had some other ideas, but that was a really good process for us.
Well, not just for you guys.
The case study for modular implementation for Holacracy 1, Athena, you were a case study for modular implementation, right?
I don't know if we were a case study, but I believe we were, one of the very first ones to work with Michael on that. So,
yeah. Well, I'd like to thank you guys, because thanks to you guys, we now have the modular Constitution 5.0.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it, the groupings of the rules was kind of, it was, I think, Michael's intelligence to group them the way they did, but now it's got codified in a way to group them in certain chunks, and so you have the 5 articles, which is a more useful kind of cohesive whole of rule sets, but it's not necessarily from 1 to 5. The only thing is that you would have to start with Article 1 because it contains the definitions of roles and circles and accountabilities. So without that, the other rules don't make much sense. So that's a prerequisite. But apart from that, you can start there and just jump to technical meetings right away, and skip the rules of collaboration, whatever. or you start with governance right away, which would be weird, but why not? Good if you wanted to. So the way they are grouped does make sense, I think. So you start with circles definition, and then you go to rules of cooperation, moving on to tactical meetings, and then the rules around authority. So empowering the role leads to make decisions. And then the fifth is the article on governance, defining how to change the expectations within the circle. And the interesting thing is what I like, what they call the stumps. Like if you do not accept Article 5, let's say, then you have the stump, meaning this little sentence that tells you, okay, if you don't do that, then instead the circle lead defines the governance of the circle. So it gives you these alternative rules, which usually sound very much like the classical management hierarchy rules, but which makes it easy for companies to take it step by step and lean into the new rule set whenever it feels comfortable or whenever there's a tension arising, so that you feel like, okay, our meetings suck. Okay, great, try tactical or whatever. Or hey, wouldn't it be better if everybody was involved in defining expectations? Yeah, would you try governance? Do you wait for these tensions to arise naturally, and then you pull from the
Right.
corpus, so to speak?
Yeah, I think of the stumps as because that doesn't always translate that well, but think of it as legacy accommodations, maybe, where we're not into the new area yet. So how can we do what we've been doing, to kind of bridge the gap until we adopt the next set of practices. So I will say that we were not naive when we started, because several of our team had traveled to the week-long Holacracy course. And then in the beginning, we also had Chris and Tara come spend 2 days with us at Faith's house. So we did some pretty intense work that way.
But what I like about the stumps is a way of, okay, instead of just leaving things implicit, at least it makes those things explicit too. And
Yes.
then you that's generally what I like about the Constitution, because it makes those aspects workable, or at least you can, well, if you like those rules or not, at least you know what they are, and then you can deviate or fork them or whatever you want to do. But it's no longer this implicit, intangible, you have no handle on this situation. So anyway, just a thought. Does that help you, Keith, or any other curiosity? No? Okay, great.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, job board. I just want to know, Jonathan, this is a request for information. Maybe you could fill us in about I just saw that yesterday, or was it yesterday when you launched the thing? So tell us more. So what is this Holacracy jobs, or what is it?
Yeah, well, just.work, it's about creating a safe haven for purpose agents to come together and thrive, also for enterprises, but mainly purpose agents. And that also means that one of the ways that we can thrive is not only through bonding and upskilling, but also about earning, right? There's a common pattern across, I would say, much of the purpose agents that I've come across with, which is still struggling to get financially stable when it comes to working in an ecosystem that comes and go and still not so established. Just.work started also with that premise, and now we're making it, making a soft launch, nothing too complicated, in a way that we're posting some of the jobs that we found. Actually, that I found, I simply went and reviewed anyone who was saying that they were practicing Holacracy, within Holacracy One's Airtable list that it's available for everybody. And what I did was going one by one, seeing if they have open positions, and I just simply copy that and throw it in there. But the main idea is that we also have this role marketplace in order to be able to search for these gigs where you can, as members of the work, you come in and out of companies, not even needing to become a legal member from that entity. That's for another conversation, but to make it easier to connect like-minded people and enterprises where they might have specific requests for specific talent, but knowing that there's a lot of people exposed to the power shift that they might already have this background on holacracy practice, for purpose enterprising, and that also eases much of the onboarding for these partners to any new organization. So it's basically adding that. This was a feature that I was thought from the beginning, and now we're looking to scale much more, and that was a needed part. So anyone's welcome to post that as well. I actually been in conversations with some folks at Athena. So if you want to post something there, you saw something, you know about a job or an open position or a role to fill, and you just post it over there. It's again a community of interdependent actors upskilling, bonding, and thriving together. So see what happens.
I saw that some folks from Hyperport also posted jobs, or was it you, or who posted? Did we have some? Huh?
No, I haven't connected anyone. I went through their jobs landing page and I just copied it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I asked them if they knew anyone who they recommend from the Holacracy coaching community. And yeah, but now there was no recommendation. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to react to that, to see like, why is Hyperport here? It's like, well, maybe.
No, I mean, it's fine. Just curious how the connection, if any connection was there, came to be.
No connection whatsoever yet, but looking for, to expand this and to make it even automated. I think it would be better as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be careful about saying Hyperport is Holacracy powered, because not the entire.
we have opinions. We have opinions. Yeah. Anyway, cool.
No, I mean,
yeah. You want to add to this, Christiane?
No. I was just kidding.
Cool.
Because Hyperport, there's like many organizations, different organizations that belong to that company, right?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, it's different companies and different
entities
stages of the practice, and yeah, some more committed to it, some just facade practice, I would say. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I got what I needed. So let's wait for Jonah. People.
Yep.
People.
It's becoming more and more clear every day that the holacracy rush that people go through when they discover them, this new way of structuring your meetings, because you always start with the meetings, and to be more efficient with that, you don't even care about the power shift. You don't really understand what even means to be power shifted or take authority, because it's just a fancy word. So at least in my case, what I've seen is that you're really enthusiastic about, oh my God, we're not gonna spend 3 hours in a meeting that not really getting us anywhere anymore. And then when you are following that path with further investigating what is also lacking in the company, there's a really big chance that you're just going to crash. And mainly because you are starting to put the emphasis on the differentiation and integration, but it also feels like a separation for some between the role and the role filler. So now you're working in role, and now you are a role filler, and nobody comes and tell you, what do we do with the people? And most of the chances is that you're not going to be able to know what to do if you're not coming from a background where people had a place to come together to discuss, to process their interpersonal intention, most of the odds is that it's just going to say like, I don't know, but not in here, not in this tactical meeting, like kind of a fuck off, you know, it's like we're doing work now, not with those words, but the first in the beginning, I saw that a lot, you know, it's like now we're taking care about work and it's fine. I don't know, do it somewhere else, you know, don't come here and bother us with your humanity. And I think that's also one of the main detractors story to talk about holacracy. It's so unhumane, and when you read literature about that and how is it or how is it not humanizing, and you see some articles by Brian and you see there are some more resources, you're coming to this conclusion that there's a responsibility, and I know this is bullshit talking, but in my head, it's the responsibility of the coach who's implementing the holacracy practice that they mandatorily have to come in with a solution for the people that are not placed to, if they don't have before. And I know this is kind of a why should I care? I'm holacracy coach. I don't give a fuck, you know, I just want you to hire me for this. But
well,
when you're offering, I'm not saying that you're doing that. I'm going to wrap it up here. Just a second. So what I'm saying is that with this silence by design from Holacracy 1, when it says like, yeah, this is, you know, what we're showing is that you need a context for the people to come and process their tensions. We don't know how to do it. I don't care how you do it. Just, you know, go and find it yourself. And I find that when you just leave it like that, and you don't have proper coaching, you're probably going to crush, because you're not going to be able to give a space for the frustration that it's logical with any type of implementation from holacracy when you're changing your ways. So I'm not sure if I have a conclusion. I just wanted to share this that I have in mind. Welcome for feedback, thoughts, reactions.
Do you want to, can I please?
Of course, please do.
might have a few things about to say.
Yeah.
No, I know.
I mean, Jonah, you know that 11 years ago, I asked the same question and started developing the language of spaces in order to point towards a people space, which then already many years ago I called in language of spaces was called the language, the people context. I have spoken to Holacracy 1 repeatedly, and Holacracy 1 snuffs it off and says not necessary, might be considered an app, and I don't know what. Even Tom leaving Holacracy 1, the for-purpose enterprise being created didn't lead Holacracy 1 to be more amicable towards understanding that holacracy is a super important thing, but it is only part of the game. And to pretend it is not just part of the game, it is a whole system solution, is just simply what you're pointing towards. It's not useful. And I think it is harming not just holacracy, but also some organizations and people who are, like you say, super enthusiastic about this new thing, and then there's the crash because it doesn't really offer. So my call out is, and I'm, you know, I mean, I don't have to beg anybody. I'm busy with language of spaces, but my call out is either do a for-purpose enterprise, which is a jump, because, you know, most organizations have employees, and that's a whole different story, but it is a good solution. So you become a for-purpose enterprise. If that's too steep, you become a symbiotic enterprise and go half the way. And in the end, you're going to move forward to be a for-purpose enterprise anyway. But I think holacracy implementation alone, without any consideration, holacracy has been around long enough. Holacracy 1 was founded in 2007. And I was the one who facilitated with Tom together the first licensing program the licensee meetup in Vienna. I don't know how many years ago that is. And the tensions that were processed there, like pages and pages and pages of flip chart, captured tensions and processing and everything, were all, I mean, 80% around these questions. And so I think it is time to just say, okay, Holacracy is really a great practice and more is needed.
Yeah, we felt the same way, obviously, at Hyperport back then, when we created Hola B, which is kind of the B part is the human kind of side of the street. We never got around to fully, let's say, flesh out the kind of the minimum viable practice for the human side in that sense, other than saying, okay, look, there's these contexts we need to be aware of. The language of spaces was part of it, as for the framing to make people aware, hey, this other dimension's not being covered by Holacracy, and it's not a fault of Holacracy. It's just, yeah, if they don't correct that erroneous assumption that it covers everything, then that's kind of not nice. It kind of might be self-serving, but it's not nice. Like, don't let people run into this. Just at least tell them, hey, you better put something in place there, and you better create. It's not that you cannot use Holacracy to create roles that care about this kind of work. If you feel like this cultural work, so to speak, is kind of an ongoing activity worth capturing in a circle or a role, fine, do that, but at least tell people, and don't let them, run into the robot trap, let's say. Or
if I may, I have another thing to say, and which ultimately is the reason why I wrote my book. It is not enough to create a tribe space and have people talk to each other about their stuff going on. Because what happens is things like people show up and they say, I've been so frustrated about A, B, and C. Anybody else feel that as well? And then there's like, yeah, me too. Okay, so I'm not alone. Let's next kind of thing, right? It's like, what? So people just love to come together to complain, because at least they have the opportunity, and you call it tribe space, and then that's what you do. And it's like as if tribe space were Wednesday from 9 to 10 a.m. and then we go back to not being in tribe space again anymore. It is just so ridiculous. This is just such a limited perspective that people get from implementing Holacracy without giving any attention to that thing. Because in all honesty, it really always, the Holacracy practice, in the depth, the depth that it, the shift in perspective that is requires, that it brings into our relating to ourselves and relating to others, is so foundational. And nobody prepares people for that shift. And it is in the core of the topic, it is the issue of power. And because that plays out in every aspect of the way of that work playing out. And if you don't fully address that and allow space, time, and money for that topic to be deeply addressed, and really people get scared shitless, excuse my language. And I see that when I take people through the language of spaces process, which invites them to reflect on their own patterns and on their own behaviors, which is not always comfortable, and not everybody is willing and able to do that. And I think that to actually just not look there and say, keep them practicing, they'll learn, is almost cynical. Because you have to appreciate it, that people they are not ready to step into that level of self-reflection and introspection that is necessary to actually be in that space. And if you just looking away is I think it's actually creating harm. Yeah. And you see, I'm very passionate about that. So, I'm sorry, I'm shutting up now.
Definitely one of the thought leaders on this regard. And for everybody else, if you haven't, I'm reading Christiana's book, and it's a must read. If you are into this PowerShift ecosystem, just I've been reading it, and I'm taking it for vacation so I can finish it, and I truly recommend it. She's coming from a place of experience. I think she has an authorized word, and I see that in practice. I'm doing that for Bike in Buenos Aires. I see how people, it's not enough to have context where rules allow you to do stuff if you're not able to pick up on your own authority. You know, they don't care if you can be holacratic all you want, but if people is not ready for picking up upon that, or they're not even there for the right reasons, and they're not motivated to even bother, you're not gonna have anything done over there. And it's crazy, and it's frustrating for people who want to push this or push it or to make it happen in these organizations, and it's really frustrating. So I think it's a must, and I think that anybody who is coming in, and I'm sure that in Expreneurs you already have enough experience, and you probably bringing this up. And of course, that I was bringing my own experience 3 years ago, when I tried to implement Holacracy in the company that I had back then. I'm now part of now we are a free purpose enterprise. But at that time, Bike in Buenos Aires, I read a book about Holacracy, and I was so happy about it. And it's like, wow, it cannot be so difficult. Let's start doing it. And of course, we almost crashed. People was about to leave, and I have to say, thanks for the pandemic, because otherwise we would have gone out of business. Yeah, that's out of my experience. But I was not a professional coach. Of course, Dennis is a professional coach. He has a company that's also referenced in the area. So nothing. I just wanted to share that. And again, maybe I for those who are actually notified by the app, that of just.work, there's a series of articles from Nick Osborne that also Christiana has been part of, and I think it's a beautiful journey of how you start from self-organizing, or with the intention to self-organize, until you have a safe enough place to talk your soul out to people that might be frightening to talk with in any other position. So if you don't have trust enough, if you don't have enough trust in the system to be able to, to talk to the 99% owner of the company, because you are afraid of retaliation after that. He has the point. So yeah,
it's a lot. So I think it's a lot about psychological safety. It's also what we observed at Hyperport, when we in the various companies, that the reality of it was that we had the new rules and everything, but then still people held back because this person is setting my salary and still so I might kind of tread lightly here and not rock the boat too much and make like wild proposals or whatever, or shake the tree or whatever you want to call it. And the other thing I think that we try to address with ENCODE and the FPE is also that precisely the two classes of people problem, which subtly kind of distorts the relationship space. So there's always this this physics, if they want to demonstrate kind of the weight of objects and black hole, you have this plane, and then you have this this bowl in it somehow. So that's the way, like, this force field of power distorts the communicative space. It's not an even level. It's like people just go down the black hole or whatever, it's distorted. So unless that is addressed by the legal framework, it's really difficult, even for a symbiotic enterprise, to even if you have best of intentions, because people still hold back because they're still not on eye level or see eye to eye, because there might be repercussions. You're not co-owner of the company, you're still an employee in the end, and you can can suffer consequences. Yep. But on the other hand, not everybody is willing and able to, willing to take on that much responsibility and entrepreneurial kind of risk, which is the other side of the street. So it also is this position of, okay, it's not my neck that's sticking out in the end, so fine. I pay the price for that by, letting other people tell me what to do in the end, to some degree.
Yeah. Can I try to draw a conclusion here about this? You know that there's also some people that even when you have everything for them to pick up their own authority, they're still not going to do it. And sometimes it has to do with personality traits, you know. And sometimes they just, you know, there's a specific case that I have at Biking Buenos Aires, where a guy is just, he's so introvert, he's not able to pick up and take the lead on any type of tension processing, you know. He's just not there. He has his own problems, background in life and everything. And we have to discuss if it makes sense that he was a partner of the company or not, because if you're not there and if you cannot process, if you cannot take your authority, and this is a fair purpose enterprise, it's not that we don't love you, we love you, but it doesn't make sense in this regard on how we need to work together. So essentially the conclusion is, it's not so much about how you supposedly mandate people how to do stuff. It's about making decisions, conscious decisions about, is this a good fit for the thing that we have in mind or not, you know?
I was just thinking, there's these various stages of development, like where you, so one of them is called self-authorship. So if you're not there yet, and you would like others to tell you what to do, because you want to be, you know, you want to fit in, you want to do the right thing, you don't want to rock the boat, and you would like, yeah, please tell me what to do. Yeah, that's the whole point. We're not here to tell you what to do. You're supposed to figure out what and the people feel kind of insecure. And I wonder how to deal with this. So my best solution in a holacracy powered organization would be to, okay, you're not kind of processing attention proactively, or your purpose proactively, then we're gonna just request projects and actions from you, you know. If that's the way you want to or can play it, only cool. But it's not ideal. It's not ideal, and one would wish that people would pick up the impulse to grow and grow into this open space that's available to them to step into.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
Any
the
support.
point. Not that's the point. Not everybody is there yet.
And it should be fine, actually. You know, you don't want to drag on people.
Should be fine.
Should be okay to just leave them be. You know, the Claire Graves statement. Everybody has the right to be where they are. Kind of this kind of
it's true.
Ability, right? And
it occurs to me that the Athena group, we had an advantage in this whole process because it's somewhat the nature of the work that we do. We work with organizations, we do leadership development. We're always concerned about psychological safety in the spaces that we convene in communities and so on. And so, you know, it's not that we always do it right with ourselves, because we're really good at doing it with others, but we have to, remember. But, a number of us are really, well-grounded in art of hosting, art of participatory leadership, various conflict and mediation processes and so on. So, that's the stuff that we bring to the holacracy and for-purpose enterprise journey. So I think that's helpful. I hadn't thought about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that for sure makes a difference, for sure. And then you have organizations that have, I don't know, like the Austrian company that I'm working with, which is actually a technology company. They do software for bookkeeping and tax kind of that stuff, that whole stuff. That's not so much mine. But they have a number of roles in the organization that are really have a low level of accountability. and they also need the people that will do those roles with low level accountability. Now, people who are happy to do those roles, that there's a personality fit there.
Yeah.
And those are not the people who will be extremely engaged and will be self-authored and be very very conscious about their self-management. And that's when it gets tough. And I think it's would be a really super interesting conversation, how to navigate that in a really appreciative way within the holacracy practice. I think that is a topic that's not dealt with enough.
Yeah, so I think really this is really the implicit kind of contradiction, or that the framework kind of posits everyone to be at least at the self-authorship level.
Yeah.
In order to play along, you need to be one level below that, which is the one that's able to stick to rules. That kind of is the entry, but it's not the ideal kind of
Right.
the ideal level. But people that thrive on self-authorship and their own initiatives, that's the kind of the target audience, and then everything above that. But I think it could be also a catalyst for them, for those types of people, because you see everybody around them doing, taking initiative and seeing that it's okay, and kind of the expectation is to they want to fit in, and to fit in means to take initiative, which is kind of paradox, because that's exactly the thing where they kind of are not. So it's like almost like a paradox intervention to live in that system for them. Anyway, just some things.
Well, I appreciate the use of or just bringing the notion of systems and systems thinking into this, because I have found it helpful in some conversations to help newcomers look at their previous experience in organizations, sometimes, corporate, and to think about that as being a particular systemic structure that generates, certain behaviors. And it's been the water that so many of us just swim in our entire lives. We've never thought about it, right? Because this is how it is. But coming into a self-organizing situation, it's a new structure. There's still a lot of structure. It's just much more explicit. In the corporate world, it's all shadowy and hidden, and we don't talk about it. And in holacracy, etc., we talk about it. And I think that's what makes it seem so overwhelming. It's like before we didn't have to look at it. Now we're having to look at it and actually live into it and appreciate that. And so, I do actually a little, systems thinking orientation to folks, with folks, to help them, if they haven't already had that background and hadn't thought about it. But I love teaching systems thinking, so I try to bring that into the work.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's so interesting, building on what you were saying, the conversations about what incredible skill we all develop to survive and thrive in a system where there is so much shadow, implicitness, politics, and fuzziness and unclarity, where the incredible skill to actually feel safe in such a context. When we then shift into a context where that fuzziness, implicitness, unclarity goes away, we have no skills to navigate that clarity, which is scary as hell.
Yeah.
It's scary as hell.
Or we have to think about how to adapt the skills that we've developed, because I think they're still useful. But it's a new environment.
It's it's like going from the Sahara to, I don't know, the Antarctica. It's like
or wherever Jonah is. Yeah, it's very hot there right now.
Right.
What's that?
Now it's pretty clear that I'm in Brazil, right?
Yeah, right. The land of the world champion, right?
I really want to talk about soccer, but that's okay. Yeah.
Well, we happen to be talking to someone from Argentina, so
Yes, I know that. Yeah, that was
Okay.
a glorious tournament. Yeah.
You know, Argentina can be very messy.
Wah.
Right, okay.
All right, back to it, guys. Come on.
All right. So are there any other topics here that you would like to look at? Anything that piques your interest? Yep.
I don't know. Dennis, you've got something on that.
I do have something. I'm starting to work a lot on analogies for explaining holacracy. Finding new ways to explain it to people who is just being exposed to that and in a way that they can understand it. And talking to different people I heard of or I created some, I don't care. I'm not claiming authorship. But there was one that I really like about this. Well, we're talking about differentiating between the role and the soul, right? And one of the questions that I tend to hear was, yeah, but this is a role, but I'm still, I'm the one energizing it. So what do you mean that it's not about the person? If it's the role, but not the person. And then one of the analogies that I like, and at least for me, was really clear that the role would be kind of a play in a theater, a role in a part in a theater play, right? So you could say that you have a role, you have a part, and then each person will, if they have to play the same part, each person would add its own energy to that. So you can even see that. I took Batman, for example, right? And most of the time you have Batman, it's pretty much the same character, and then you have different actors playing the role, and it's still Batman. But every time that someone else is coming in, it's providing a different energy. It's getting the character somewhere different. And even with the Joker, it's even more clear how much it changes. And I know this is stupid, but for me, it was a really easy way to.
I like that a lot, actually. Yeah, because people might have their own characters that they would be able to relate to as well. Yeah.
There you go.
It is the analogy. I always use this analogy, the theater analogy, in my language of spaces trainings, always. And then I add on to it and I say, now you put on your role, your costume to express your role. You have a script, of course, you have a text, you have a guy who tells you, who's told you, okay, you walk from left to right, you know what the accountability of your role is, and you know your text, and then there's another role on stage whilst you're actually in front of the audience, and this other role
Customer
forgets his or her cue. And that really creates a big problem for you. You don't fight it out on stage. You don't turn around to that guy and you say, hey, you missed your cue. What the hell are you doing? No, you don't. You just keep on doing because you're playing your role. And then you step off stage, step out of your coat and hat and I don't know what. And then you turn to the other person and then you talk about that. And it's just a super valid analogy.
I love that one too.
Yeah. Or the football analogy, right? It's like when you're in the middle of a match, you don't, because the other one plays a bad pass, you don't step out and you say, hey, you moron, what are you playing? You just,
you actually do.
Unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo.
You don't renegotiate your contract. That's what you don't do.
No, I prefer the theater analogy because it's such a super valid analogy.
And it's not complete, of course, so but it's useful.
Of course, no analogy is, right? It's like, yeah. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Something.
Hola.
All right.
No, so what I'm saying is that I think you added a crucial element to this, which is when you are on the play, you don't start discussing it. You don't break role. You don't break your part. You wait until you go off stage, and of course then you can do that. You can punch the other guy if you don't like it, but it's not something that you would do on a play. Something that you might do in football. So that's why I wouldn't use that analogy for football, because that's actually getting in the way. But for the play,
Yeah, right.
Here, kind of the play just ended, and then it's like, why did you went off script? Why did you start to do my part? You know, I was supposed to say this line, and then you jump in, and then you do whatever, and it's clear at the moment. You know, now we're in the play. Now we're not in the play. That's really good.
And also, Jonah, for that question of, you know, I'm in role, right? So it is me, right? And that's what I use in language of spaces, is to really make sure that it is about perspective taking, and that we are in these spaces, right? Always at the same time. But I use my fist, right? I say, this is the tension. And I look at it from this side, I see the thumb and my fingers here. I look at it from the other side, I see my knuckles, I see something else. It's still the same fist. It's a question about looking at the same thing from different perspectives. And that generally allows people to get at least some understanding. Or there's that image of a 6 lying on the floor and one person, or a 9, one person standing on one side and the other person on the other side, right? And they have this incredible fight about whether it's a 6 or a 9. It's like, it's just a different perspective, right? And then you get your different.
I like to use a multicolored plastic beach ball that has the different panels, right?
Right.
What color is it, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, ready for another analogy that I just used at one is for the act of ratification, which is, well, as I just mentioned, that is marriage. So, because it's a symbolic ritual and act that works on the soul level, kind of. It implies to bind yourself to a certain rule set and to exclude certain alternatives. What are you excluding here? Well, personal, like ego, power of people over people, unclear authority, dysfunctional meeting processes. You kind of turn away from bad management, basically. And what are you turning towards? Clarity, autonomy, high level structure, flexibility, align with the purpose of the organization. And so you bind yourself to the rules of the Constitution, and that's where the power goes from people into a process or into a rule set. Doesn't mean that you always do everything right. Like in a marriage, you don't always do everything right, and that you never break a rule. You do, but it means that you have the firm intention to stick to certain rules and behaviors, and to give each other the right to remind you to get reminded by the other person, like whenever you overstep something. And like in the marriage, it's not done with this one-time display of, ritual, but you have to work for it continuously. Like in a good marriage, you have to work for the marriage. You have to work for the Holacracy practice. So yeah, that's some things that struck me when I prepared this little speech at this latest event, that kind of works for me as an analogy.
That's nice. Also good, Dennis. And then that here is something that I think I read in one of Chris Cohen's articles, which is that you always have to desacralize all of this holacracy thing, in the sense that you have the intention to adhere. Nothing that it's not a note of, if not, I'm going to get, I'm out of the tribe or anything. It's like, I'm intending to adhere as much as I can as much as I'm in my possibilities. So this is to refer that, yeah, we're going to break it up sometimes. Like you said, nothing's perfect.
Yeah,
but I like that.
I just wonder about this, the word you just used, like desacralize. I think we have to resacralize actually a bit, in the sense that not, I mean, I know what you mean. It's not sacred as kind of like in a rigid way where we never can make a mistake, and we are, like with a Western mindset, or the Christian Western mindset, we're damned if we, violate rule or something like that. But instead we say, we affirm the certain or the intention to stick to these rules, because they are sacred for us, in the sense they enshrine certain values, like the meeting process enshrines certain values implicitly by not talking over each other and listening to each other carefully. It's kind of in there. It's kind of, the values are kind of in the rules somehow, and I think it's fair to say this is sacred for me. so I mean, people don't have to relate to it that way, but I think it's beautiful if people do. I certainly do.
Well, Jonah, what was your analogy? How are you, when you said desacralize? What were you getting at?
I mean, Dennis has a valid point. There's depending upon the group. For some groups, it's just I'm too afraid to break the rules, so I don't even want to try. So that's where the desacralization comes in. But for some others, it's like it's nothing even worth paying attention to. So I think it's pretty circumstantial. I might add to this, but the intention to adhere, it's still as an attitude to, this is the game that we're playing, and we're intending to to do this, and I will do to my best of my degree of my possibilities.
Yeah.
Kind of
it's really the topic is, why are we actually doing it? Why are we practicing holacracy? I had a day with a nonprofit in Texas not too long ago, and we had this conversation first online, and then it was like, okay, so what does it take, and what is the consulting, and what are the, and I'm like, wait, the question is, there's another question before that, and that is the question, why would you even want to do that? And what is, and I had a whole day with them working on the call to action, surfacing their systemic actually tensions around, and then to looking at those tensions and saying, would self-organization, I never go in with holacracy, I always go in with self-organization, and with holacracy being a part of what it takes to be a self-organized entity, right? So but that was just such beautiful work. And then it became clear that actually like 99% of those tensions, possibly self-organization practices have the capacity to move those forward in a good way. And just to talk about the sacredness or desacredness in power shift journeys, because I'm just writing about that. It's my role. And part of that power shift journeys and the work that we're doing there is about reclaiming the sacredness of work. And that reconnects back to purpose, if you understand what purpose is, and then it becomes very sacred and very spiritual and very immediately. So I think also looking at holacracy just as, okay, let's do holacracy to be more agile, to be more, I don't know what I think it's just underselling it. And that's part of the problem.
Just instrumentalizing it without kind of seeing it's an expression of something deeper that we're actually yearning for, like to have meaning at work, like, and to have work and meaning not be two different things, but to have to live an integrated life, like where we can show up as soul people.
And what is work?
Work is love made visible.
Visible. Exactly. Khalil Gibran.
Amen. So I think we we reached a point here where we could move to checkout. I don't know.
I love it.
I wouldn't want to add to this and spoil the moment. But if you have anything more sacred to say, then please do.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone. I don't want to spoil it, but it's interesting. One of lessons or videos that Nick recorded, and he was talking about the power shift. He's putting together an analogy. I don't know if you heard from it. It's should I say it or no? I'm just going to ruin it for you.
No, come on, please. You can't do that. I'm sure I've heard it. I just can't remember it. Go ahead.
Bring it on.
The power shift is it's kind of making love. Kind of making love. It's the ecstasy of working self-organized. When that happened, it's the ecstasy. But it was so funny because he was dressed all with these shirts that he's using, and he I don't know, he was really
like
kind
that.
of a Romeo.
Like that. Tell me more about the ecstasy of self-organization. I think that's a great hook for marketing. Everybody was
sex sells. That's what we know.
Everybody wants to tell me more about ecstasy at work.
But he was so passionate what he was saying. Well, he's passionate in his British expressions, of course, but he was so embedded into the notion.
Nice.
Anyways, it was really funny. I recommended you if you get the chance to see his courses to go straight to distributed authority. It's module number 4. You gotta love it. You gotta make love to it. Anyways.
Okay, guys, 6 minutes left. Let's wrap it up here with a checkout, and let's start maybe with Keith. We haven't heard from you for a while, so how did you leave, and what do you take out from here? And what's your reflection on the meeting?
Yeah, a lot. Learn a lot about all the experience and lesson that you all learned. And that would be things that I need to keep in mind when I need to implement a holacracy in the future. What are the things I need to take note about adoptions, about how to keep learning, and all this. All the sharing from you guys are very valuable. And things are still improving. There's still many things that can be improved and learned. And I feel today is also another day that feel full of meaning for me, and I'm very happy to be in this workshop. Thank you so much.
Sweet, thanks. Jonah, your takeaway.
Yeah, well, after making love to this, oh gosh, I'm in the mood for a cigarette and maybe a drink. No, it was really interesting. I mean, I love the fact that it's kind of unstructured and we can come and go and to add a little bit more humanity to the holacracy thing and still keeping it organized and sanely structured, but not more than that. I like it. I think there were good topics, and I'm passionate about this, so I can do this all day. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Stephen.
Well, thank you. Appreciate being part of the conversation today. I'm glad that I joined, and I was just wanted to ask, how often does this happen? Is it regular or?
Once a month.
Once a month. Okay, very good. I will get it on my calendar and not miss it. So thank you. It's good to be with you all.
Christiane.
Yeah, wow, what a joyful time to be together and to share and explore. Really, really enjoyed this. And anything else? No. Super appreciative of the container, and so good to see every single one of you here. And looking forward to more. I've actually started working on my next guild, and had time to post it, reminded me. And so, yeah, thank you. See you all back in this space.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. For me, it was also very good to be here, and yeah, I got inspired, re-inspired to really also reconnect to, I like this phrase, like sacred nature work, or whichever way we want to phrase it, because that's kind of what's yeah, it's in, for me, it's in, I feel it in Holacracy and all these and also on the for purpose enterprise, that there is something sacred, some sacred work to be done here, and we're doing it, and that's the greatest joy. So thank you all.
All right.
Thanks, Dennis.
Alrighty.
Bye bye.
Alrighty. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
See you.
everyone.